I'm Tania Rogers, and you're listening to Mindful Hustler, the podcast helping entrepreneurs get out of their heads and onto building their dreams. Together, we're building businesses while balancing minds. Let's dive in. In today's episode, I'm joined by not only an incredible entrepreneur and therapist, but also my soror and line sister. Janet is a licensed clinical social worker, founder and CEO of Progressive Healing Co., and a powerful psychotherapist who is changing the way we think about mental wellness and healing in our communities. Janet brings a beautiful blend of clinical expertise and soulful intention to her work. And today we're diving into her journey of building a purpose-driven practice, shifting from clinician to CEO, and creating spaces for deep healing and transformation. So whether you're a therapist, a healer, or someone on your own path to alignment, this conversation is filled with gems and purpose on building something that honors both clients and your calling. Janet, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am extremely grateful to be a guest here and part of this. And, I'm grateful for our friendship and our sisterhood. And on the contrary, I'm extremely proud of you. Extremely, extremely proud. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm just trying to catch up to you, sis.
There's room at the table for all of us. There's room at the table.
Whenever I think of Janet, I think of about my business. That is you. But you also are so nurturing and caring. Of course, you're a therapist. And so I always find that to be an interesting blend. Someone who can be really logical and business minded, but then at the same time super empathetic and really caring about clients. I want to start with Progressive Healing Co., your company that you just opened. Can you talk to me about what inspired you to start it?
Yeah. Well, progressive healing, counseling, consulting is my private practice. It's my baby, essentially. I actually started my private practice in 2023. And it was actually birthed out of a mistake, to say the least. At that time, I was an executive director at one of a leading agencies here in New Jersey. And um, I was doing additional clinical work, and the position that I was in didn't really give me an opportunity to still practice. And, aside from being a leader and also a supervisor and a mentor, I always believe that your craft is your first passion. So the job that I was in didn't really permit me to still render care and do direct care while still taking on the role and responsibilities that I had. So essentially, I sought a different avenue, and that's how my private practice was birthed. Something that I could have on my own that's, doesn't kind of go against the non compete clause, but gives me the freedom and the luxury to see the population that I deserve to see on my time while still being able to be a leader and being present, but also being mindful about the work that I really miss doing. And that was the one-to-one clinical care, especially for our population.
Hmm. And can you talk to me a little bit about what inspired you to shift from working at a company to opening your business? Because I remember when you started your MBA a few years ago, and you were very much so about like running a company and not owning one. And then it switched and you opened your own. So what was that thought process like?
Yeah, I always said that, private practice, this leg of my life would be the later. It would be, when my kids are in college and I can have an opportunity to just focus on pouring into something that is mine. And I actually really enjoy my business brain really goes into developing and creating and building. I enjoy building, companies from the ground up, but supporting that. I really enjoy the clinical operations of things, to say the least. I enjoy having a team and overseeing and collaborating. That's where I really thrive. And I did not foresee myself being here so soon. And, sometimes it's funny how God and the universe works in a way where the things that you have of a desire of your heart will come to fruition if you allow those things to align. And, I kept on pushing it off. And it felt like every season of my life, this calling kept on coming back, different opportunities. And I was like, no, just one more position, one more corporate position. So I've been in corporate majority of my adult life. I've been in the field in a corporate setting for 11 plus years in high leadership. So I went from, a clinical manager to regional director to clinic director to executive director to a VP. And I just loved that trajectory. I knew what was coming my way. I think it's the security, right? The security of building a brand, taking the risk, but also having the security to fund your lifestyle. And I enjoyed knowing that I can do so and still have one leg in and one leg out. And every opportunity that came my way kept on coming back to building my own brand. But to be fair, I was fearful. I was extremely fearful. And I was fearful of this thing called failure. Why me? Are people really going to believe what I'm selling, right? Are people going to really think that I'm the expert? Is that a thing? And I had this kind of imposter syndrome that came to ageism, came to sexism. And I'm like, no, I'm too young. People aren't going to really see me as the professional or the expertise, but I can do it for someone else's company. I can build someone else's brand. I can hide behind their name. I can hide behind that and know that if anything fails or something happens, I have a whole team of corporate backing me up. It's not just me taking the leap. So I can jump. I can work 80-hour weeks. I can stretch myself thin on vacation. I can carry 2 laptops and phones around consistently at, sporting events for my nieces or nephews, family functions, dinner dates with my significant others. I can do, but I can't do for me. And it came a
Mhm.
time in my career last year where I kept pouring into other businesses and brands, and I realized I am tired of people telling me that I'm not good enough. So it came a time when I was working for an organization and we were just not seeing eye to eye when it came to clinical operations. And I had to kind of be passive on a few things that I was passionate about: ethical decision, moral decisions. And I was tired of it. I was tired of letting other people dictate to me what was okay. That's when I was like, quit, this ain't it. And I remember that day my husband looked at me and was like, are you okay? Because he knows me. I thrive in a working environment. I thrive with things of my hands. I believe that, your what and your why has to make purpose. It has to make sense. So what I do has to drive the why. My why goes into my what. And my purpose was giving to people, being a supporter. I'm always here, available, mentorship, internship, whatever you name it, I can do. And I felt like that was my purpose. But without a company, is it valid? So when I finally said I'm going to take the leap of me, that was when I was all bought in.
Find that so interesting that some of the most educated and intelligent people have such imposter syndrome. So Janet and I both went to Columbia. So this is an Ivy League clinician with not only a master's but also an MBA, right? And you regional director and clinical director, all of these, positions that hold a lot of power, and you still were afraid to do it on your own.
I was, afraid is a nice word. I was terrified. And I knew that I qualified. I had the credentials, I had the expertise, the experience. Majority of the time in those meetings, I was at the table, at the head of the table, leading those meetings, directing those meetings with higher C suite individual board members where I was speaking to things. And I still didn't believe in myself. I was so afraid of failure that I was willing to allow myself to be subjected to someone else's wants versus my needs.
What was that moment when you realized you couldn't take it anymore and you really just had to leave?
I think that moment was my breaking point. I remember leaving a meeting and I just got in the car and I drove around a little bit and I just realized coming back that this wasn't it. So much happened in that meeting that was telling of the things that I was allowing myself. I think I realized when I started getting more silent, that's when I started getting more chaotic mentally. I started making poor decisions and realizing I can't allow myself to stay in a space where my silent causes chaos and confusion for myself and it holds other people at peace. And I think that day, well, I know that day, I had the best sleep of my life. I slept so good. I tell you, I slept. I actually rested. There's a difference between sleeping and resting. I was rested. And the next morning I woke up and I realized, oh my goodness, I don't have a job. And the first thing my husband looked at me and was like, I know what you're about to do. You are about to go into Janet mode and get your laptop and start applying to places. He said, "Mm-mm." He said, can you do me a favor? Give it about a week. Don't do anything. Just don't touch anything. So that day was like a Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend. And I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I watched TV. I went twice a day to the gym. I cooked more, and I promised him, and I'm so grateful that I didn't because my mind was like, "Oh my goodness, what are you going to do? You have no staff. You have this LLC, you have this business, you have a small population of clientele." I think at that time I was seeing about 10 patients or maybe 5 or 6, very small, doing consulting here and there, but it wasn't a major practice like I have now. And I panicked. I went to start calling people back and just see what we can do. Should I send this email? And I'm grateful for that moment where I did nothing. And sometimes the stillness, which we're so afraid of, the stillness, we hear a lot of voices, noise telling us you're not good enough without realizing, let me put into practice what I teach others. Let me stop, check in with
Yeah.
myself.
And I think that so many of us clinicians do that because we're so used to attending to everyone else's needs. We sometimes forget our own voice and our own selves. We're so tuned into everyone else. And so what was your next move? What was it like after the stillness? How did you build your private practice?
Yeah, after the stillness, so at that time, I did not have any marketing material. I was, smaller private practice working on one EHR system and had about 5 to 6, maybe 10 that, patients I saw sporadically. So once a month, biweekly, weekly. And that wasn't enough to sustain me. So I really went into how did I build other people's practices? How did I make them into what they are now? And I had to remind myself that all of that operational brain, it still lives with me. Just because I've stopped employment here doesn't mean that all of that goes. It's
Yeah.
this trust, it's this and this passion. So if I
Yeah.
listen to this, which is my willpower, my intelligence, my skill, my attributes, and I listen to this passion, I can recreate. And I did. I basically wrote
Exactly.
out the plans the same way I would write out a 30, 60, 90-day business plan for any other. What does that first quarter look like? I did it for myself. What does aggressive marketing look like? What does, target marketing look like? All of the things that I've learned in business school and I've applied. What does my clinical plan look like? What do my finances, my return on investment looks like? How do I map it out to make me fit? What's my target population, right? Going back to the blueprint, drawing a business plan like I would do for everyone else, and then putting actions behind it, letting a day snowball into a week, snowball into months.
Did you have any like mentors or books or YouTube videos or anything that you look to? Because I find that building, or at least for me right now as a clinician working, there's so many resources out there, but like each license is different and each state is different. Like what resources did you use? I know you had the knowledge of building a practice already, but where did you turn to outside of that?
To be fair, a year before that, I have a great, circle of support. And one of my mentors, she's in private practice as well. And she has built her private practice from the ground up, almost similar circumstance. She left a corporate position. And I was so grateful that at the time I had a girlfriend of mine who connected us a year ago. So funny how God works. And at that time, she was like, this is a great time to take a leap. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. I can't do this. And her and I stayed in constant communication. And I'm so grateful for Renee. I'm so grateful for her. She essentially gave me an outline of what it looked like. And I knew what it looked like on the corporate side, but I didn't know the intricacies of things like got to get your own liability insurance. I knew that, but I didn't know about like short-term disability and what does setting up your own, Roth ROI look like, and also creating a long-term plan of life insurance. All of the things that come in a benefit package working in corporate, they changed. Like I knew that you had to get your own dental and insurance, but I didn't know all of the additional that came into place. Getting a different accounting, getting a business account, ensuring that you have cash flow coming in, securing a card, all of those intricacies of being your own employer, I had no idea. I knew what it looked like 1099, like you put away your taxes here and there, but not knowing on the bigger scale of how do you protect your business? How do you protect your asset? You right now are your asset. God forbid something happens to you. Is your family okay? Is your assets secure? No idea. So I'm grateful that I met with her over a year prior to that. And she gave me like the blueprint of what I would need to secure my assets. But in the midst of me going full force, that was what I leaned on, but I also found myself staying away from social media, and everyone's different. But I learned that when I tried to compare myself to others' practice and how they promoted their business and how they launched, do I want to see private pay over insurance and the stigmas behind seeing certain demographics or the stigmas behind accepting certain insurance carriers? A lot of noise of go private pay, but then it conflicted with my own morals. It conflicted with the sense of I always believe that care should be accessible and that quality providers should be accessible for individuals who are professionals paying into insurance. It's hard when you have benefits coming out every 2 weeks of your paycheck. It's not easy. And then now, on top of that, I understand as a provider, we should absolutely charge for our value, right? We go back to school, continue education, we pour into keeping our licensure up. We are walking textbooks that pour into people. So you should charge your worth. I totally believe that. But I also believe for me and my value, making sure that my expertise is available for those who want to use their insurance. So I tussled with that for a while. And I think the more I allowed the noise to come in, the more it felt like I was slowing down. So I turned it off. I turned it off. I reached out to like a marketing company and they were pitching about going only private pay. And it just didn't feel good in my spirit. I was tussling with this of as a provider, how do I, keep a sustainable income, but at the same time, do it with dignity, the things that make me proud, the things that make my tribe proud, the things that one day I hope to tell my own children and nieces and nephews, do this and make sure that you are proud at the end of the day. How do I do that and still be sustainable? I got the mortgage. I got lights to keep on. I got student loans because I've forgiven myself for them student loans, but I got them. They're still here. How do I keep up with my lifestyle that went from corporate, high income, high earning to got 10 patients? What does that look like? So I tussled with that for about the first month. And then I realized turn it off, follow what I know. So I didn't read books, I didn't look at resources. I literally followed my business plan from the T. And I said, I understand that I'm taking this leap. And if it's God's will, He will provide. I'm not foolish because faith is dead without works. I'm not foolish. I do the work. So I did the work. I did the work.
Yeah. So so it sounds like you really did a lot of research just through your connections that you already had, and you didn't need more resources. You just really needed to turn to your left and your right, talk to people, and then take the steps. And I think so many of us feel like we need to have all of these things before even starting, and it's just not realistic, and it deters a lot of people from ever even taking the first steps.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think I'm grateful that I was in a position that I was pushed to do because if I said, well, let me start 30 days, 60 days, 90, 6 months, and then I'll quit my job, I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have allowed myself to transition and wholeheartedly pour myself in. I had to realize that there is no plan B. If I say that there's a plan B, like if this doesn't happen, I can go look for another job on the side. I can try this out. Kept saying that I had to remind myself, you're allowing yourself to fail. Failure happens, but failure happens when you stop trying. Life will be trial and error. You try something, it's an error, you try again. Failure happens when I stopped trying. So when I kept on saying, this is a plan B, I had to scratch it. Trust my instincts, trust that I'm unique. Doesn't matter how saturated a market may feel or look. You are your brand. So if I'm not bought in, who else will? Follow my expertise.
That part. So, what are some things that you had to unlearn from going to building someone else's practice to now building your own?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is everyone always says, follow your instinct. I had to learn that it's okay to follow my instincts. It's okay to ask your circle for feedback. I'm very private on a lot of things. And when it comes to work and clinical space, I had to find a space where the people that I trust that they've been with me in this journey in corporate side. So the relationships that I've made when I was working at other people's agencies and private practices, I learned that being honest with them gave me an opportunity for someone to hold the mirror and say, that's not good. Let's try this. Or that's great. I got your back. When I started having more transparent conversations, I actually started to realize, wow, these are some things that I need to fix before I make an error. When you're too close to the forest, you can't really see the journey. But when there's others around you who are supporting you, they can tell you the right path. So one of my closest girlfriends, her and I, we used to work at a different private practice together, and I helped support that private practice. And she was the director of administrations, and her and I are still girlfriends till this day. I mean, very close. I am so grateful for her. She has been my sounding board when it comes to checks and balances, to say the least. And I would call her, she's like, she'll say my initials, JPT, you got this, you can do this, this is not this, this is this. And sometimes we shut our village out because we're afraid of that constructive feedback that sometimes feels like criticism, that sometimes, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. And that sense of transparency that leads to vulnerability, that leads to maybe I'm a failure type of thoughts, or negative, intrusive thoughts. I had to learn that I poured into people and I know they care about me. So it's okay to be transparent and it's okay to be vulnerable. They will keep you on the right path. I'm grateful for that. I've always done it in corporate. Why not this space?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's hard for us to look like we don't know what we're doing in front of people. I know I felt that way for a while, and it's something that really stifled my growth and kept me stagnant for a while, especially when you're someone who prides themselves on knowing themselves and, knowing what your next move is. It's all ego.
Yeah.
It's all ego. And it's okay to pivot. I think everybody needs to pivot because we all grow. It's not realistic to think you're just going to be one path for the rest of your life. So, to some degree, everybody needs to prepare and embrace the pivot because it's going to happen.
The same thing, us as providers, I agree. We tell our patients care is not linear, right? It depends on meeting you at your
I say
needs.
that all the time.
You have to take the same advice for us when it comes to our career trajectory. It's not going to be linear.
Yes.
And, it's the ego, it's the pride. It's the pride when you are that go to friend. Everyone calls me,
Mhm.
know that I'm consistent, I'm available, I will give feedback, I will give you a game plan. And then you can't take your own game plan, you can't take your own feedback. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to
Mhm.
feel that sometimes we think we're not worthy enough and we're afraid to even say that out loud.
So, speaking of taking your own advice, how do you manage your own mental health?
Yeah, I love working out. I'm a big, I'm not promoting this company, but I am a big Orange Theory believer.
You are. I see yourself on Instagram all the time. Every post, you're like glistening, like, just did a workout.
I am a big believer on OTF model. I've been a member for almost 4+ years, almost 5 years. And I love that it gives me an opportunity to go in mindlessly and just get out. Like if I go to a mega gym, I don't know what to do. I know what to do, but I really don't know what to do. In every era of my life, I'm so big on control. That space helps me go in. They tell me what to do, and it's mindless behavior. I can just,
You surrender.
yeah, yeah, literally surrender. That's a great word. I can just do my best. And I
Yeah.
love cooking. I love cooking. I wasn't always big into cooking. I enjoyed it, but post COVID, or we call it BC, post COVID, or before COVID, I wasn't big into cooking. But post COVID, I got really into it. I enjoy the idea of going to the grocery store, putting my headphones in, and just shopping.
Really? I need to order online and go for pickup, girl.
Yeah, I need to see it. I need to feel it. I need to
Oh,
compare.
you sound like B. You sound like my husband. Girl, that's him.
We're the same. I love cooking. I love, you know, pouring into other people. I love seeing people actually enjoy my dishes and trying new dishes and actually getting new appliances and like, oh, I just got a new big girl blender. Like I'm so excited. That's the way of like keeping me sane. I love the running. I love grounding myself, but the cooking also helps to balance it.
It's such an art, right? Like, I wanna love cooking because I get it. Like, it does feel therapeutic when you get into it, and the payoff is nice. But I think I'm just an impatient person, and to some degree, I think I need to actually learn the art of cooking because it will help me to surrender, and it will help me to just enjoy, like, process better. But I just get so impatient. I'm like, "Can I just, like, throw something together in, like, 10 minutes?" Like,
There's beauty in time, right? And I'm a lone wolf. I get what you feel in the sense of doing it. It's not for everyone. Cooking is not for everyone. I genuinely enjoy finding a recipe and mastering it. Like, "Ooh, I'm
mm,
a little razzle dazzle on this." I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy seeing people, enjoy my cooking. I always ask my husband after I cook, "What's my rating? Like, rate me. I just need to know what I do." He's like, "Well, you could do this better." He's a tough critic, but I actually enjoy feeling in the kitchen, having the music playing, and just enjoying that space where I'm creating something that's not always me pouring into someone else and using my mind, but freely just going with the flow. And then the chaos behind it. Sometimes it doesn't turn out the way that you wanted to. That 2 minute boil went into 4 minutes and it's done. And it's like, whoop, what happened there? So it's just the art of learning. I really appreciate it.
When am I coming over for dinner then? Because I'll give you a rating, girl.
You're always more than welcome. Please do. I love your company, so please come anytime.
So, what boundaries help you protect your energy currently?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the boundary of being able to check in with myself before I say yes to something or take a phone call. I think recently I have been staying away from the phone for just peace of mind on some other things. I think we are all so exposed to social media, comparison of people's lives, looking at my peers where they are in their life, traveling, what I'm not doing. I have allowed myself to put it down. So you can probably see I've actually stopped posting as much, going to the gym and just being present in life. And that also means sometimes checking in with myself when a loved one calls or a girlfriend calls or just anyone. I'm like, do I got the capacity to take this phone call? Like I just sat in sessions. I'm cooking, I'm driving. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't need to fill up the space. So I'm checking in with myself before, and it could just be a mindless conversation. Hey, I'm just checking in with you to see how you're doing. I may not have the capacity for that. So I'm learning to ask myself, what capacity do you have? And if you don't have it, and if the first answer is like, no, then it's true, versus trying to talk myself into it. That has been a good boundary for me so far.
That's really great advice. Checking in with yourself before you say yes. I think I need to take more of that, especially when it's something that I really love to do, but it's like you said, do I have the capacity at this moment to do that?
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
willingness,
good.
right? There's a difference between willingness and capacity. I want to, you're right. I mean, love and enjoy it, but do I actually have the capacity to show up in the way that I need to? And sometimes it's okay to say no. It's not because you don't,
Mhm.
it's because you care a little bit more about yourself. That's okay.
Yeah. And sometimes that's actually caring about the other person too. Like if you know you don't have the capacity and you say no, it's looking out for them too. Like, look, I don't want to either half ass this or I don't want to, bring a certain energy to you. And it kind of lets you off the hook too.
No, yeah, it's doing them a disservice to say the least.
So, what advice would you give someone who wants to start a healing centered business but feels stuck or afraid like you once did?
I definitely will say, ask yourself, what is your why? And your why is the thing that really drives you. I know everyone uses these buzzwords like mission and vision and passion, but your why is really what makes you happy. And, one of the exercises that I sometimes do with my own patients is say, in an ideal world, if if resources were limitless, endless to say the least, in an ideal world, what would you be doing? Do the exercise, see what that is. Do it and come back to it. Because sometimes we want to make it perfect. Like, but if I had this and if I had this, that's also putting restriction on your potential happiness and your goal. And then from there, check in with yourself. Does that align with my why, my purpose? And then does it then align with my what? The what is what you are doing now. If what that goal looks like, that vision, that limitless resources, the endless amount that gives you this opportunity to live a life with abundance that matches your why, and what you're doing doesn't align, give yourself a plan and then bring people in. If you don't tell people what your vision and your goals are transparently, your tribe cannot hold you accountable. I'm grateful that I had people around me who knew my vision, who understood the good and bad before it happened, and they kept me accountable. Because if I didn't have that, I would still go back to what my plan is. My plan is. And those moments when I leaned on the plan, my tribe was able to say, we got you. We believe in you and you can do it too.
Can you share a resource or a book or anything, any tools that you use in your current practice that support you on your journey right now?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy utilizing this book called like Self Love for Women. There's two variations. There's one that says Self Love for the Working Woman, and it's a generic, more open book to anyone who identifies in the sense of just self-love and trauma. And then there's another version that says self-love for Black women. And I like both editions because one is just a bit more open, but another one is more tailored to women of color, people identify as a Black or brown woman. And, I caught myself kind of looking through, it's kind of journal entry, type of method where it gives you prompts. And it's a great resource. I've caught myself kind of, peeking in and saying, should probably try that when no one's looking. I genuinely enjoy it. I've used it for years, and that's one resource I definitely recycle over and over. And it has been great. It has positive affirmations. It has challenging language from childhood. Recenters you given grounding tools. I think it's a great resource to absolutely, embed in your practice.
Awesome. And last question, what does hustle mindfully mean to you?
Oh, I love that language. I think about the root word, which is mindfully, but hustle, the action, right? They're both verbs. Hustle means keep going because hustle can look different for everyone. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has the grace and the gift to pour into people in some capacity, and that's okay. We show up for our calling, but hustle means show up for your calling. Even if you feel like you're breaking, you're not going to break, you'll bend. And that's where the mindfully comes into play. How am I checking in with myself? Because I can keep hustling, keep going. The one thing I tell my patients is you can't do this again. I can't go back to April 2025 ever again. I will never see that. But I have more time tomorrow. So make your today count. That means being present. I'm hustling. What am I hustling for? Right? Being mindful of what's the purpose of this and make it add to your value. If it's working for someone else, go ahead and do it good. Do it well. Keep going. Hustle means showing up on the days that I don't want to show up, showing up on the moments where I am battling my own mental sanity. I'm taking care of my family. I'm being a sister to my girlfriends. I'm dealing with my partner. I'm dealing with my own insecurities. That's hustling, still showing up and showing up well. But the mindful part, check in, check in with yourself.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to take that with me. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And where can people find you, find your company? What's the
Yes.
best place to reach you?
Yeah, so you can find us on Psychology Today under my full name, Janet Pierre Toussaint. And you can also find us on our website, Progressive Healing Co. That's CO. And you can reach us at Gmail, which is progressivehealingco@gmail.com. And we are also on social media on Instagram. You can find us there at Progressive Healing Counseling and Co. And you can find us on some other platforms like Good Therapy. It's almost similar to Psychology Today. We do accept all major insurances as well as some of the bigger insurance carriers in New Jersey and New York as well. So I do see patients in New York and New Jersey. So you can find us on all those platforms and reach out.
Janet, thank you so much, girl. I love you, and I'm so happy that we got to share this time together and you got to grace the listeners with your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and the work that you are doing. I definitely see you and we are rooting for you. You have a whole team behind you. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode and you don't want to miss another, make sure you subscribe. See you next time.